Ethan Lorne was wiping grease from his hands when the alarm started screaming. He looked up from the broken engine he was fixing and frowned. No ships were supposed to come here. This salvage station near the neutral zone was abandoned. That was exactly why Ethan lived here alone. He walked slowly to the main window and looked out into space. His heart stopped. A Royal Jerian ship was landing in his docking bay. The ship was beautiful, covered in silver and blue patterns that only the alien royal family could use. Ethan's hands started shaking. "No," he whispered, "it can't be." He ran to the docking bay. The ship's door was opening. Two tall guards stepped out first, wearing ceremonial armor that shined under the station's lights. They carried plasma rifles, and their 4 eyes scanned the area for danger. Then she appeared. Ethan felt like he couldn't breathe. Scifi stood in the doorway. Her white blonde hair fell around her shoulders. She wore simple gray clothing, but anyone could see she was royalty. The way she stood, the way she moved, even with her limp. Her right leg dragged slightly as she walked down the ramp. 1 step, 2 steps, 3. Each movement was careful and deliberate, but her face showed no pain, no weakness. Her violet eyes found Ethan immediately. "You're supposed to be dead," Ethan whispered, staring at her like she was a ghost. "The entire galaxy watched your execution 7 years ago." Scifi stopped walking. The guards moved closer to her, but she raised one hand. They stopped immediately, understanding the command without words. "Hello, Ethan," she said softly. Her voice was exactly as he remembered, warm, strong, beautiful. "How?" Ethan shook his head. "I watched the broadcast. Everyone did. They said you were executed for treason against the royal family. They showed your body." "They showed a body," Scifi corrected. She took another step forward. "A clone, a very expensive, very illegal clone that took me 3 years to arrange." Ethan's mind was spinning. "Why? Why would you fake your death?" "Because staying alive meant everyone I loved would die," Scifi said. Her eyes were filled with sadness, "including you." Ethan felt anger rising in his chest. "You let me think you were dead for 7 years. Do you know what that did to me? I've been hiding in this abandoned station alone because I couldn't face—" "I know," Scifi interrupted. Her voice cracked. "I know exactly what it did to you, Ethan, because it did the same thing to me. But I had no choice. My brother was hunting everyone connected to me, anyone who helped me escape. If he knew I was alive, if he knew you were still important to me, he would have killed you first." "Your brother," Ethan said bitterly. "Emperor Carvoth, the one who exiled me from civilized space, the one who branded me a traitor for refusing to betray you." Scifi's face showed pain. "Yes, and he's gotten worse, much worse. He's no longer just cruel, he's become a monster." She gestured to her guards. They returned to the ship and brought out a large metal case. They set it down carefully and stepped back. "What is that?" Ethan asked. "Evidence," Scifi said. She opened the case. Inside were data drives, documents, and holographic recordings. Proof of what my brother has been doing for the past 7 years. Proof of the weapons he's building. Proof of the planets he's planning to invade. Ethan stared at the contents of the case. "Why are you showing me this?" Scifi looked directly into his eyes. "Because you're the only person in the galaxy who knows the location of something that can stop him. Something you and I discovered together during those 6 months you hid me on your ship." Ethan's blood went cold. "No, Scifi, no. We agreed to never speak about that place. We agreed to forget it existed." "I wish we could," Scifi said. "But my brother found out about it. He's been searching for it for years. He's tortured people, destroyed entire research stations, killed anyone who might know something." "How did he find out?" Ethan demanded. Scifi's voice became very quiet. "Because I told him." Ethan stepped back like she had struck him. "What?" 3 months ago he captured me," Scifi explained quickly. "I didn't know he was my sister. I've had surgery, changed my appearance, lived under different names. But he caught me during a raid on a rebel base. He used a mind scanner on me. I couldn't stop him from seeing some of my memories. So he knows about the weapon, Ethan said, feeling sick. Not the location, Zerai said. Only that it exists. Only that a human helped me find it. He doesn't know it was you. Not yet. Ethan ran his hands through his hair. Then why did you come here? You're leading him right to me. Zerai's voice became urgent. I didn't come here for protection, Ethan. I came because you're the only human who knows the location of the thing that can destroy my brother's entire fleet, and he's 3 hours behind me. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Ethan stared at her, at the woman he had loved, the woman he thought he'd lost forever. 3 hours, Ethan repeated. 3 hours, Zerai confirmed. 3 hours. We need to move. Now.
3 hours wasn't much time. But as Ethan followed Zerai through the station's corridors, his mind traveled back 7 years. Back to the night that destroyed his normal life forever. He had been nobody then, just a cargo pilot hauling medical supplies to war zones, 32 years old, lonely, and tired of watching people die in conflicts he didn't understand. That night, he was transporting vaccines to a refugee camp on Helios 9. The cargo hold was sealed, the manifest was clean, everything was routine. Then he heard the crying. It was soft, almost impossible to hear over the engine noise, but Ethan had good ears. He put the ship on autopilot and went to investigate. The crying came from container 7B. According to his manifest, it should have been empty, a spare container for the return journey. Ethan opened it. Inside, curled in the corner, bleeding from a dozen wounds, was an alien girl who looked barely 20 years old. Her white blonde hair was matted with blood. Her right leg was twisted at a horrible angle, and her violet eyes stared at him with pure terror. "Please," she whispered in broken English, "please don't tell them where I am." Ethan should have reported her immediately. Finding a stowaway was serious. Finding a bleeding, injured stowaway meant trouble, big trouble. But something stopped him. Maybe it was the way she tried to make herself smaller, like she expected him to hurt her. Maybe it was the burn marks on her arms that looked like torture wounds. Maybe it was the fact that she was crying, not from pain, but from fear. "I'm not going to hurt you," Ethan said softly. He held up his hands to show he had no weapons. "Let me get medical supplies. You're bleeding badly." The girl flinched. "Why? Why would you help me?" "Because you're hurt," Ethan said simply, "and I'm not a monster." He spent the next hour treating her wounds. She didn't tell him her name, she didn't tell him why she was running, but she let him bandage her leg, seal her cuts with medical foam, and give her painkillers. When he finished, she finally spoke. "My name is Zerai. I was Princess Zerai Velkoth, third daughter of the Jarian Emperor." Ethan's hands froze. "Princess?" "My father is dead," Zerai continued, her voice hollow. "My oldest brother took the throne, Emperor Karvoth. He is not like father. He believes power comes from fear, from control, from breaking anyone who questions him." "What did you do?" Ethan asked quietly. Zerai looked down at her twisted leg. "I refused to marry the warlord he chose for me, a cruel man who beats his servants and kills for entertainment. I told Karvoth I would rather die than become that monster's wife." "So he tried to kill you," Ethan understanding. "No," Zerai corrected. "He tried to cripple me. He said a disabled princess would be grateful for any husband, so he had his guards shoot my leg. They wanted me to beg, to crawl, to accept my place." Ethan felt rage burning in his chest. "But you escaped." "Barely," Zerai said. "A servant helped me reach the cargo district. I hid in your container. I didn't know where your ship was going. I just knew I had to get away." Ethan stared at this broken princess, this girl who had been shot and tortured for refusing to surrender her dignity. "You're going to Helios 9 with me," Ethan said firmly. "After that, I'll take you wherever you want to go." Zarai's eyes widened. "You would do that? Risk your life for someone you just met?" "Yes," Ethan said, and he meant it. That was how it started. 6 months they traveled together. Ethan couldn't take her to any major planets. Karvoth had spies everywhere. So they moved through backwater systems, small colonies, forgotten stations. Zarai's leg healed slowly. She would always have a limp, but she never complained. Instead, she learned everything about Ethan's ship, how to navigate, how to repair engines, how to fight. And somewhere during those months, they fell in love. It wasn't planned, it wasn't dramatic, it just happened. Two lonely people floating through space, finding comfort in each other. They bonded as mates in the Jarian way, a blood ceremony, a promise, forever. 3 months after the bonding, everything fell apart. Karvoth's agents found them on a mining station near the Outer Rim. They offered Ethan a choice. "Tell us where Princess Zarai is hiding, and the Emperor will make you rich. Knight status, a mansion on the capital world, more money than you could spend in 10 lifetimes." "And if I refuse?" Ethan asked, even though he already knew his answer. "Then you're branded a traitor to the Jarian Empire. You'll be exiled from all civilized space, hunted, alone, forever." Ethan looked at Zarai, who was hiding in the ship's secret compartment. She couldn't hear the conversation. She trusted him to protect her. "I'm not going to her life for you," Ethan said. And he meant it. That was how it started. 6 months they traveled together. Ethan couldn't take her to any major planets. Karvoth had spies everywhere. So they moved through backwater systems, small colonies, forgotten stations. Zarai's leg healed slowly. She would always have a limp, but she never complained. Instead, she learned everything about Ethan's ship, how to navigate, how to repair engines, how to fight. And somewhere during those months, they fell in love. It wasn't planned, it wasn't dramatic, it just happened. Two lonely people floating through space, finding comfort in each other. They bonded as mates in the Jarian way, a blood ceremony, a promise, forever. 3 months after the bonding, everything fell apart. Karvoth's agents found them on a mining station near the Outer Rim. They offered Ethan a choice. "Tell us where Princess Zarai is hiding, and the Emperor will make you rich. Knight status, a mansion on the capital world, more money than you could spend in 10 lifetimes." "And if I refuse?" Ethan asked, even though he already knew his answer. "Then you're branded a traitor to the Jarian Empire. You'll be exiled from all civilized space, hunted, alone, forever." Ethan looked at Zarai, who was hiding in the ship's secret compartment. She couldn't hear the conversation. She trusted him to protect her. "I'm not going to her life for you," Ethan said. And he meant it. Back in the present, Ethan stopped, walking. Zarai turned to look at him. "I refused their offer," Ethan said quietly. "They branded me a traitor and exiled me. But Zarai, if you faked your death, why did you let me believe you were gone? Why did you let me suffer alone for 7 years?" Zarai's face crumpled. Tears ran down her cheeks. "Because I was protecting you, Ethan," she said, her voice breaking. "My brother didn't just exile you, Ethan. He implanted a tracking virus in your neural chip during your arrest. For 7 years, I've been remotely feeding him false data, making him think you forgot everything about me, making him believe you were harmless." Ethan touched the back of his neck, where his standard neural chip was implanted. "What?" "Because if I had contacted you sooner, if I had shown any sign that you still mattered to me, the virus would have alerted him. He would have killed you immediately. So I stayed away. I watched you from a distance. I made sure you were safe, and I hated every day of it." Ethan felt his anger dissolving. "Why now? Why come to me now?" Zarai's expression turned grim. "Because 3 days ago, I destroyed the virus control network. Karvoth knows I'm alive now. He knows I'm coming for you, and he knows why." "The weapon," Ethan whispered.
Yes, Zerai confirmed. But there's something else, something I never told you 7 years ago because I didn't know it myself. What? Ethan asked, though part of him already knew the answer. Zerai looked directly into his eyes. You. It has to be you. And if my brother gets to you first, he won't just kill you. He'll force you to activate it, and then he'll use it to enslave every human world in the galaxy.
The station exploded around them. Ethan grabbed Zerai's arm and pulled her toward the emergency corridor. Behind them, the main docking bay erupted in flames. Karvoth's ships weren't waiting. They were shooting first. "He's trying to kill us both," Ethan shouted over the alarms. "No," Zerai yelled back. "He's trying to trigger my heart implant. If this station explodes and kills me, Earth dies automatically." They ran through smoke and fire. Ethan's lungs burned. His mind raced. If Zerai died, billions of humans died. If they didn't reach the weapon, Karvoth would enslave the galaxy. There was no good choice. They reached Ethan's personal ship in the secondary hangar. It was old, small, and barely harmed, but it was fast. "Get in!" Ethan shouted. Zerai limped up the ramp, her damaged leg slowing her down. Ethan fired up the engines. Behind them, another explosion ripped through the station. Metal screamed. Air rushed out into space. The ship launched just as the station collapsed behind them. Ethan pushed the engines to maximum. Karvoth's fleet filled the view screen. 20 warships, 50, 100, more appearing every second. "He brought his entire armada," Zerai whispered. "This isn't a capture mission, this is an extermination." A voice boomed through the ship's communication system. Deep, cold, inhuman. "Hello, sister." Zerai's face went pale. "Karvoth!" The view screen changed. It showed a massive alien sitting on a throne made of bones. Emperor Karvoth had 8 eyes, each one burning with hatred. His skin was covered in ceremonial scars. His hands ended in claws that dripped with fresh blood. "7 years I searched for you. 7 years I thought you were dead. Imagine my surprise when my neural tracker suddenly reactivated 3 days ago." "You were always a fool, brother," Zerai said, her voice steady despite her fear. "Did you really think I would stay dead?" Karvoth laughed. It sounded like bones breaking. "I hoped you would. Death was a mercy compared to what I have planned for you now." "You won't touch her," Ethan said, gripping the controls. Karvoth's 8 eyes focused on Ethan. Ah, the human, the cargo pilot who thought he could hide a princess. "Tell me, human, do you know what the penalty is for touching royalty without permission?" "I know what the penalty is for being a coward who murders his own father," Ethan shot back. Karvoth's face twisted with rage. "Father was weak. He wanted peace with inferior species. He wanted to share our technology with humans and other animals. I saved our empire from his weakness." "You destroyed it," Zerai said quietly. "Father built an empire on honor. You built one on fear, and fear doesn't last." "Neither do you," Karvoth said. He raised one clawed hand. "I'm going to give you both a choice. Surrender now. Tell me where the weapon is, and I'll kill you quickly. Refuse, and I'll spend the next decade keeping you alive while I peel your skin off layer by layer." Ethan looked at Zerai. She looked back at him, and in that moment they didn't need words. They had been bonded as mates. They could feel each other's determination. "We choose option 3, Ethan said. He slammed his hand on the emergency jump controls. The ship vanished in a flash of light. They reappeared in the dead zone 30 seconds later. The jump had drained most of their fuel. They wouldn't be able to jump again. "He'll follow us," Zerai said. "The moment our engines cool, his trackers will lock on." "I know," Ethan said. "That's what I'm counting on."
He pointed at the view screen. The massive, ancient structure floated before them, exactly where they'd left it 7 years ago, still silent, still waiting. "We're going to end this, today, right now." Zerai grabbed Ethan's arm. "Ethan, you don't understand. I need to tell you everything, about the weapon, about what it really does." "We don't have time," Ethan said. "Make time," Zerai yelled. Tears ran down her face. "Please, before you make a choice you can't undo, you need to know the truth." Ethan's hands froze on the controls. He had never seen Zerai this scared. "Tell me," Ethan said quietly. Zerai took a shaking breath. "The weapon isn't a weapon. It's a prison." "What?" "The weapon I lied to you about 7 years ago. Not about everything, but about this. The ancient civilization that built this structure, they weren't protectors. They were prisoners." She pulled out a datapad and showed him images, ancient writings, diagrams, historical records she had spent years collecting. 5,000 years ago, humans weren't the only species exploring space. There were others, the architects, a race so advanced they could reshape reality itself. They could create life, destroy planets, rewrite the laws of physics. "What happened to them?" Ethan asked. "They went mad. Absolute power corrupted them absolutely. They started playing God, creating species just to watch them suffer, destroying civilizations for entertainment. They became monsters." "So someone stopped them," Ethan understood. "Yes," Zerai confirmed. "A coalition of species rose up. Humans, early Jarians, dozens of others. They fought a war that lasted 300 years. And when they finally won, they faced a problem. How do you kill beings that can't die?" Ethan stared at the ancient structure. "You don't kill them, you trap them." "Exactly," Zerai said. "This structure is a prison. The architects are inside, frozen in time, their consciousness locked away. And the weapon, the sphere we found, it's the key. The genetic lock is designed to make sure only someone worthy can open it." "Why would anyone want to open it?" Ethan asked. Zerai's voice became very quiet. "Because the architects made a deal. If someone opens the prison, the architects will grant one wish, any wish, reshape reality however the opener desires, and then the architects will serve that person forever." Ethan felt sick. "Karvoth wants to release them." "Yes," Zerai said. "He wants ultimate power. He wants to become an ultimate god emperor. And the worst part, the genetic lock isn't looking for worthiness. It's looking for desperation." "What do you mean?" Ethan asked. "The lock requires DNA from someone who has lost everything, someone who has been betrayed, exiled, abandoned, someone who has suffered so much that they would do anything, even release monsters to change their fate." Ethan's blood turned to ice. "It's looking for someone like me." "Yes," Zerai whispered. "My father knew this. That's why he hid the coordinates. He knew that in the wrong hands, this prison becomes a doomsday device. He gave the coordinates to me because he hoped I would destroy them." "But you didn't?" "No," Zerai admitted, "because I realized something. The prison has a second function. If someone worthy activates it, not to release the architects, but to strengthen the prison, it creates an unbreakable shield, a shield that can protect entire sectors of space from any threat." Ethan's mind raced. "So we have 3 choices: release the architects and doom the galaxy, strengthen the prison and create a shield, or do nothing and let Karvoth take the weapon." 4 choices, Zerai corrected. Her hand moved to her chest, where the heart implant pulsed. "I can trigger my heart implant right now, kill myself. Earth dies, but Karvoth loses his leverage. You can escape." "No," Ethan shouted. "I'm not letting you die." "Then what do you choose?" Zerai asked. "Because Karvoth's fleet just entered the dead zone. We have 10 minutes before he's here. 10 minutes before you have to decide who lives, who dies, and what happens to the galaxy." The ship's proximity alarm started screaming. Ethan looked at the view screen. Karvoth's flagship was approaching, massive, unstoppable. And then Ethan saw something that changed everything. Behind Karvoth's fleet, other ships were appearing, hundreds of them, thousands, ships from dozens of different species, human ships, Jarian rebel ships, even ships from species Ethan didn't recognize. "What?" Zerai breathed. A new voice came through the communication system, human, female, old but strong. "Ethan Lorne, this is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Fleet. We received a distress signal from your station. We're here to help." Ethan's throat tightened. "Admiral, you need to leave. This isn't your fight." "Actually, it is," Admiral Chen said. 7 years ago, you were exiled for protecting an alien refugee. The entire human fleet voted that day. Some thought you were a traitor, but we all agreed on one thing. We don't abandon our people. So we've been watching you, waiting, and when we saw Karvoth's fleet heading to your location, we called in every favor we had. Another voice joined the channel. Jarian, male, familiar. "Princess Zerai, this is Commander Velthar of the Royal Resistance. Your father's bodyguard, Marcus, was my brother. Before he died, he made me promise something. Find the princess and help her finish what he started." More voices joined, dozens, hundreds. "We're with you. We stand with the humans. Karvoth ends today." Tears streamed down Zerai's face. "They came. They all came."
Ethan and Zerai stood at the entrance of the ancient structure. Behind them, two massive fleets faced each other in silent standoff. Karvoth's armada, the Resistance Coalition, both waiting to see what would happen next. "If you go in there, I'm pressing the button," Karvoth's voice crackled through their communication devices. "Earth dies in 30 seconds. Ethan looked at Admiral Chen's flagship on his view screen. He opened a private channel. "Admiral," Ethan said quietly, "do you trust me?" There was a pause. Then Admiral Chen spoke. 7 years ago, you chose honor over wealth, exile over betrayal. Yes, Ethan Lorne, I trust you. "Then get every human ship out of this sector," Ethan said. "Right now. Maximum jump distance. Don't ask questions. Just go." "Ethan, we came here to fight." "You came here to save lives," Ethan interrupted. "So save them. Get out. That's an order from the man who's about to end this war." Admiral Chen was silent for 3 heartbeats. "Understood. Human fleet, emergency evacuation protocol. Jump in 30 seconds. Karvoth's laughter echoed through the channel. "Running away? How predictable. How human." "We're not running," Admiral Chen said coldly. "We're getting out of the blast radius." The human ships vanished in flashes of light. Karvoth's laughter stopped. "What blast radius?" Ethan didn't answer. He grabbed Zerai's hand and entered the structure. The inside was exactly as they remembered, vast, empty, ancient beyond measure, and at the center, floating in darkness, the sphere of liquid light waited. Their footsteps echoed. Each step felt heavier than the last. The air itself seemed to press down on them, like the structure was testing their resolve. "Ethan," Zerai whispered, "I'm scared." "Me too," Ethan admitted, "but I'd rather be scared with you than safe without you." They reached the sphere. Up close, it was beautiful and terrifying. Symbols swirled across its surface, alien mathematics, ancient warnings, languages that had been dead for millennia. Ethan reached out to touch it. The sphere exploded with light. The voice returned, the same ancient, powerful voice from 7 years ago. Genetic markers confirmed, descendant recognized, bonded pair detected, initiating final test. The floor beneath them lit up. A circle of light surrounded Ethan and Zerai, and suddenly they weren't alone. Holographic figures appeared around them, hundreds, thousands, all different species, all wearing expressions of grief and determination. "What is this?" Zerai breathed. One hologram stepped forward. It looked almost human, but its eyes were wrong, too large, too bright, too knowing.
"We are the witnesses," the hologram said. "We are the ones who imprisoned the architects 5,000 years ago. We recorded our consciousness here as a warning, as a test, as a final safeguard." "A test for what?" Ethan asked. "To determine if you are worthy to control the prison, or if you are simply another tyrant seeking power." The holograms shifted. They formed a scene, a memory, ancient humans fighting alongside aliens against beings of pure energy, the architects. The battle was horrific. Entire planets cracked open. Stars went dark. Reality itself was torn apart. The architects were once like you, curious, ambitious, alive, but they discovered how to manipulate the fundamental forces of existence, and that power corrupted them. They stopped seeing other species as people. They saw us as toys, as experiments, as things to break for entertainment. Another scene appeared, the architects creating life just to watch it suffer, building civilizations and then destroying them for fun, torturing entire species for no reason except boredom. Sarai covered her mouth. "They're monsters!" "They're what anyone becomes with unlimited power," the witness corrected. "Power without consequence, ability without empathy. That's why we built this prison with a lock, not to keep the architects in, but to keep anyone unworthy out." The sphere pulsed. Light streamed from it, scanning Ethan and Sarai from head to toe, analyzing genetic intent, measuring emotional resonance, calculating probability of corruption. The genetic lock isn't just reading your DNA, it's reading your soul, your choices, your history, and it's asking one question: if you had unlimited power, what would you do with it? Ethan felt something strange, like fingers made of light were reaching into his mind, pulling out his memories, his fears, his regrets. The sphere showed his life, his lonely childhood, his years as a cargo pilot, the moment he found Sarai bleeding in his ship, the choice he made to help her instead of turning her in. Then it showed darker moments, times when Ethan had been angry, bitter, moments when he'd fantasized about revenge against Karvoth, about making the Emperor suffer the way Ethan had suffered in exile. "No," Ethan whispered, "that's not... I wouldn't actually..." "Everyone has darkness," the witness said gently. "The question isn't whether you have dark thoughts. The question is whether you act on them." The sphere shifted to Sarai. It showed her life, her father's murder, her torture, her escape, her years in hiding, watching Ethan from afar, hating herself for letting him suffer alone. And it showed her darkest moment, 3 months ago, when Karvoth's agents had captured her, when they'd used the mind scanner, when she'd been forced to reveal the existence of the weapon. But the sphere showed something else, something Sarai hadn't told Ethan. She'd had a chance to escape during the mind scan. A rebel operative had created a distraction, but escaping would have meant leaving behind 15 other prisoners, 15 people who would be tortured in her place. So Sarai had stayed. She'd let herself be scanned, let Karvoth find out about the weapon, all to save 15 people she'd never met. Ethan stared at her. "You sacrificed everything to save strangers?" Sarai looked away, ashamed. "They were going to execute them. Children, Ethan. Some of them were children. I couldn't just leave them." The sphere pulsed brighter. Analysis complete. Verdict worthy. The witnesses bowed their heads. "You passed the test, both of you. The human who chose honor over wealth, the princess who chose strangers over survival. You are worthy to control the prison." The sphere opened. Inside was a control panel covered in symbols. "You have 3 choices," the witness explained. "First option, release the architects. They will grant you 1 wish and serve you forever. You will become gods, but history suggests you will eventually become monsters, just like they did." "Never," Ethan said firmly.
Second option, strengthen the prison. Create an unbreakable shield that protects this entire sector. Nothing can enter, nothing can leave. The architects remain trapped forever. You save the galaxy. That sounds better, Zerai said. But there's a cost, the witness warned. The shield requires a power source, a life force. One of you must stay inside the prison forever, alive but trapped, conscious but alone, for eternity. Ethan and Zerai stared at each other in horror. Third option, the witness said quietly. Destroy the prison. Destroy the architects. Destroy everything. The explosion will crack this entire region of space. Every ship within 100 light-years will be vaporized, including Karvoth's fleet, including any ships that didn't evacuate in time. That's genocide, Zerai whispered. That's certainty, the witness corrected. The architects will never threaten anyone again, but thousands will die in the explosion, maybe millions. Can you live with that choice? Before Ethan could answer, the structure shook. An explosion ripped through the entrance, smoke filled the chamber, and Karvoth walked in. The Emperor was even more terrifying in person, 8 eyes blazing with madness, claws dripping fresh blood, the blood of his own guards, who he'd killed for being too slow. He wore armor made from the bones of his enemies. Behind him, 12 elite soldiers followed, each one carrying weapons designed to kill gods. Did you really think I would wait outside? Karvoth laughed. Did you think I would let you choose? He raised his hand. The device linked to Zerai's heart implant glowed in his palm. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to release the architects. They're going to serve me, and then I'm going to reshape the galaxy in my image. A galaxy where strength matters, where weakness dies, where I am God. Ethan stepped between Karvoth and the sphere. No. Karvoth's face narrowed. No? You heard me, Ethan said. His voice was calm, steady. I've spent 7 years in exile thinking about this moment, thinking about what I would say if I ever saw you.
The moment Ethan and Zerai touched the sphere together, the universe exploded. Not with fire, not with destruction, with light. Pure, blinding, infinite light. Ethan felt his body dissolving, every cell, every atom, every molecule breaking apart and reforming. It should have hurt, it should have been agony, but instead it felt like coming home. He could feel Zerai beside him, not physically, something deeper. He could feel her thoughts, her emotions, her entire existence merging with his. Is this death? Ethan thought. No, Zerai's voice answered in his mind. This is transformation. The sphere pulled them inside. They saw everything, felt everything, understood everything. The architects weren't gods, they were victims. 5,000 years ago, they had been explorers, scientists, artists, a peaceful species trying to understand the universe. Then they discovered the truth about reality, that all matter, all energy, all existence was just information, code that could be rewritten. So they tried to rewrite it, to make the universe better, to eliminate suffering, to create paradise. But every change they made created worse problems. They eliminated disease, and populations exploded into starvation. They eliminated violence, and species lost the will to survive. They eliminated death, and life became meaningless. They tried to fix their mistakes, but each fix required more changes, more rewrites, more interference. And slowly, over centuries, they stopped seeing other species as people. They saw them as variables, as code to be optimized, as problems to be solved. By the time the ancient coalition rose against them, the architects had forgotten what it meant to be alive. They had become cold, logical, monstrous. But they didn't want to become monsters, Zerai's voice echoed. They were trying to help. They just lost their way. So did the coalition, Ethan realized. They trapped the architects instead of helping them. They chose punishment over redemption. The sphere pulsed with understanding. Correct. The prison was built in anger, in fear. It was never meant to be permanent. It was meant to hold the architects until someone worthy could heal them. Heal them? Ethan thought. How do you heal beings of pure consciousness? With empathy, with love, with the one thing they lost, connection to others. The sphere showed them the truth. The genetic lock wasn't looking for someone desperate. It was looking for someone bonded, someone who understood that power without connection was poison, someone who knew that the strongest force in the universe wasn't energy or matter, it was love. That's why it needed both of us, Zerai understood. One person alone is too vulnerable, too isolated, but two people bonded together, we can remember what the architects forgot. Ethan felt his consciousness expanding. He could see beyond the structure, beyond the dead zone. He could see Carvoth's fleet, Admiral Chen's evacuation, the Resistance Coalition watching and waiting. And he could see Earth, beautiful, fragile, alive. We can save them all, Ethan thought, but not by destroying the architects, by teaching them what they forgot. Do you accept this burden, to become eternal guardians, to spend forever keeping the architects connected to life, to ensure they never lose their empathy again? Zerai's voice wrapped around Ethan's consciousness like an embrace. Together? Forever, Ethan promised. Then let the transformation complete. Outside the structure, Admiral Chen watched her sensors in disbelief. "Ma'am," her science officer stammered, "the ancient structure it's changing." The massive prison was dissolving, but not collapsing, transforming. The dark metal turned to crystal, the cold angles became organic curves, and at the center, the sphere of liquid light expanded. It grew larger, larger, until it surrounded the entire structure, until it filled the dead zone, until it stretched across 100 light-years of space, and then it pulsed. Every ship in the sector felt it, a wave of pure energy that washed over them like warm rain. It didn't hurt, it didn't damage, it just felt, like being hugged by the universe itself. "What is that?" Commander Velthar whispered aboard his resistance ship. His science officer checked the readings and went pale. It's a shield, sir, a protective barrier, but it's not just energy, it's conscious, it's alive." And then they heard the voice, not through communication systems, not through technology, through their minds, through their hearts. "This is Ethan Lorne and Zerai Velpoth. We are the guardians now. We have merged with the ancient prison. We have healed the architects, and we have created something new." The sphere pulsed with understanding. This shield will defend all species who choose peace over conquest. It will protect worlds from tyrants, from invaders, from anyone who seeks to harm the innocent. But it cannot be used for attack, only for defense, only for protection. That is the covenant we have made. Admiral Chen felt tears streaming down her face. "Ethan, are you still you?" "Yes," Ethan answered. "And no, I am more than I was, but I haven't forgotten who I was. I remember every face, every name, every human I ever met, and I will protect our species, I promise." "I will protect mine as well," Zerai said. "But Jaria must change. My brother's reign ends today." Inside the structure, Carvoth's stone body began to crack. The Emperor had been frozen, but not killed. Now he was being judged. Ethan and Zerai's consciousness surrounded him. They could see everything he had done, every murder, every torture, every act of cruelty. But they could also see why. His father's impossible expectations, his siblings' mockery, his deep, terrible fear that he would never be good enough. "He's a monster," Zerai's thoughts were cold. "He deserves death." "He's broken,"
Ethan countered. "Just like the architects were broken. Killing him doesn't fix anything." "Then what do we do with him?" Ethan thought carefully. Then he understood. "We give him what he always wanted. We show him what it's like to be a god." They released Carvoth from the stone. He fell to his knees, gasping. "What did you do to me?" Carvoth wheezed. "We opened your mind," Ethan said. "For the next 100 years, you will experience life as every person you ever hurt. You will feel their pain, their fear, their suffering. You will live through every moment of agony you caused." Carvoth's 8 eyes went wide with horror. "No, no, kill me instead." "You wanted to be a god," Zerai said coldly. "Gods don't get to hide from consequences. You will understand what you've done, and when those 100 years are finished, you will be released, changed, healed, given a chance to be better." "That's mercy we're offering you," Ethan added. "More mercy than you ever showed anyone else." Carvoth screamed, but his screams faded as his consciousness was pulled into the rehabilitation program. A century of forced empathy, a century of understanding. It was both punishment and redemption. Aboard Admiral Chen's flagship, alarms started beeping. Her communications officer looked up in shock. "Ma'am," her science officer stammered, "we're receiving a transmission from the Jarian homeworld. It's the military council. They're asking to negotiate peace terms." Admiral Chen blinked. "What?" "They're saying that with Carvoth gone and the new Guardians in place, they want to join the Galactic Coalition. They're offering reparations for the invasion attempts. They're surrendering." Commander Velthar's voice came through the comm. "Admiral Chen, the Resistance is receiving similar messages from a dozen different species. The Shield's presence is changing everything. Species that were planning wars are now requesting diplomatic talks. It's like the entire galaxy just took a breath." Admiral Chen looked at the massive shield surrounding the dead zone, at the beautiful, terrible, impossible thing that Ethan and Zerai had become. "What have you done?" she whispered. "We've given the galaxy a choice, peace or isolation. The shield protects those who protect others, but species that choose conquest will find themselves cut off, unable to expand, unable to harm anyone but themselves." "It's not perfect," Zerai admitted, "but it's better than war, better than endless cycles of revenge. And we'll be here, forever, watching, protecting, making sure the architect's power is used only for good." 6 months later, Earth held a memorial service, not for Ethan's death, for his transformation. 8 billion people gathered in cities and towns and homes, watching the sky, watching the distant glow of the Guardian shield. Ethan's mother stood at the memorial in Dallas, tears streaming down her face. She had been told her son was a traitor, an exile, a disgrace. Now she knew the truth. Her son had saved the galaxy. Admiral Chen stepped forward to speak. "Ethan Lord